Boston College has lost two players already to the transfer portal, but they're going to need to hit the portal hard this year. What positions are they going to need to prioritize? I'll explain today.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Thank you for joining us today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. All right, folks. The transfer portal is set to open, and right now we are in the midst of what usually is what's referred to as like the transfer portal exodus. For Boston College, it's been pretty slow so far. We saw, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, Sione Hala, he entered the portal. We also lost Jalen Cheek to the portal. Neither of them were like huge surprise or really big losses. But today's episode is dedicated to what BC needs. I'm going to look at what's one position they have to hit hard. We're going to look at their biggest need on offense. And we're going to kick things off by talking about one of the biggest questions. Do they really need a quarterback in this class? So let's kick that off. Now, last year, actually the last 2 years for BC, Boston College has landed transfer quarterbacks in the portal. Last year, it was Thomas Castellanos. And then this year, it was Grayson James. Both of them have made immediate impacts. Whether you like what Castellanos did or not, he did a lot his first year with BC. And obviously, we just watched what Grayson James did this year, throwing for 9 touchdowns and I believe just 2 interceptions. So now the big question remains. Should Boston College be content with what they have in James, or should they be active in the transfer portal? And I'm not sure how they're going to address this. But I can tell you one thing. They do need a quarterback. Now, I'm going to caveat this by saying, the quarterback, you're not going to get like an elite quarterback. I saw ESPN leaking Miller Moss, the former USC quarterback. And like 2 hours later on 3 had that he's not even interested in BC, but they said that ESPN was saying that BC might be a place for him. I don't think you're going to get a quarterback like this. But what you do need is 2 things. You need a quarterback that can challenge Grayson James. Because if Grayson James regresses, you need other options. And right now, you really don't have any. Jacoby Robinson, I think there's a big talent gap between where James is at and where Robinson's at. Now, he may develop, but I still think that's an issue. The other big issue is you look at the roster right now. If the season right now in the season, you have Grayson James and Jacoby Robinson, and that's it. You have like Peter Delaportas, Jack Brandon, Shane Hannafin. Those are all walk-ons, but you only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks. You have Shaker Reisig, which makes 3, but you really need 4 at least. And you need somebody that could possibly step up too. So I'm thinking you're going to find a guy that has maybe a high upside. I'm thinking maybe a quarterback that hasn't had a chance yet. And it could be from a high major. Maybe a former like 4-star type quarterback that wants to come and prove himself and has a better chance of proving himself. Because I think Grayson James has earned the right to go into next year as the favorite at quarterback. But as Mitchell Wolf said to me, and I think it's a great quote to use, good is the biggest enemy of great. So if you get the chance to be great, you can take that opportunity. And so there's guys out there that maybe, you want to take a chance at. Ryan Puglisi from Georgia. He's one guy that I would look at. This is a kid from Massachusetts. I think he started at Lawrence Academy. Really liked Boston College, but the Georgia Bulldogs jumped in. Now they have another quarterback that they just got to transfer in, Jaden Rashada, who is one of the top quarterbacks in his class. So he may be the next heir apparent, or it could be Carson Beck. Puglisi, maybe he wants to try something else. He could be someone you look at. Devin Brown of Ohio State. He could also be buried on the depth chart. Tyler Simpson of is it Tyler or Trent Simpson of Alabama? He's right now buried on the depth chart too. He could get the starting job next year, but these are all the types of guys you get. And then Dante Reno, who is from Connecticut and is definitely buried on the depth chart behind Lenora Sellers for South Carolina. And because Lenora Sellers just beat Clemson, he ain't going anywhere. So you have some opportunity. Those are kind of guys you're going to get. Like you're going to see, like the quarterback from Liberty just entered, Anthony Calandria from Virginia. I don't see those types of like quarterbacks getting here because it's going to be an uphill battle to beat Grayson James. But younger guys that are hungry that want to come in, those might be better options. Those might be guys that would come here, and you need it. You need another body right now because you can't go into next year with just 3 quarterbacks and a bunch of walk-ons. You need at least a fourth. And you need, and I would say, and this is not a knock on Jacoby Robinson. I would hope that you can get a guy that might be a little higher in terms of where he's at. And honestly, I'm saying all this today. We're recording this on Monday. Anything could change. Like that's the thing with the transfer portal. Like I didn't expect Sione Hall to enter the portal. He's gone. You never know. Like maybe Jacoby Robinson enters the portal. Then everything again changes. So like this is a snapshot of where we're at right now. So if you're listening to this in 2 days and Jacoby Robinson's gone, don't go, AJ, what is going on? Why isn't he here? Blah, 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 blah. So that kind of stuff has changed. And we'll get into our next thought, which is what is the biggest need on offense? It's not quarterback. I'll get into who that is in just a now. Let me tell you about my friends over at Game Time. I love going to shows. I love going to games. Wherever I can get out of my house and go see something, I love it. And I use Game Time when I want to get my tickets. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite team play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And with us, people like me, time is of the essence. Game Time takes care of all of that for you. And with their super easy all-in pricing toggle, you can now find out front what your tickets are going to cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And with their lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 100%, 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. Thank you all for following along. And if you want to join up and get more from your Locked On experience, become part of our Eagles Nest here at Locked On. It's an insider program where you can text directly with me. You get videos, you get updates, you get everything new. And you get the first month free by using promo code Bill O'Brien Monster. Sign up in the link to the show notes. You can get into this. It's a great way to get more Boston College news and connect directly to me. I know you guys all want to do that. So check that out and become part of that today. Now, let's talk about the biggest need on BC's offense. As I said before, I don't think it's quarterback, though I think that is a critical get for this offseason in the transfer portal. I think really, and this has been a case for the last couple years, the biggest need Boston College is going to have is on the offensive line. You're losing Jack Conley and Ozzie Trapilo to the NFL. Jack Conley, credit to him. He had a nice season at guard. He's not the end-all, be-all guy for your offensive line, but he had a nice season. He found his niche, and he produced well. And actually, give him credit. He did it for 2 straight years. You remember last year under Jeff Hafley, he did that like extra tight end thing for a while. And, he wasn't great as a tackle. He did pretty good as a guard. So BC's going to need to find, at least right now, a tackle and a guard. You should be all set at center. I had to say I laughed. I saw a Miami article on 247 where they were listing off all the players they should target or potentially target in the transfer portal. And basically, because it's Miami, they listed off just basically every good player they can think of. And one they listed was Drew Kendall And I just laugh because I'm like, Drew Kendall is not going to transfer to Miami. Like, if any guy on this roster, he's like the one guy I feel confident the most is going to stick with Boston College. But that's not here or there. You look at what BC has next year. You have Jude Barry returning at left tackle. You have Drew Kendall at center, and you have Logan Taylor. You can use him in a bunch of different spots. And I think it's going to all depend on A, the guys that they have and can develop, and B, who they can land in the transfer portal. I think Taylor is, and Mitchell Wolf is who's on our show frequently, says the same thing, that he might be a better tackle because BC does so much, pin and pull runs with their guards and has their guards sweeping and running. He's not the best at that. He's more of a tackle. So maybe they use him as tackle and go for two guards. Now, if you look at the roster, what Boston College has next year, and I see folks constantly talking about this, you got to give BC credit for being able to develop guys with Bill O'Brien. And that has to include the offensive line. Just saying two guys are leaving and you have nothing is not an accurate picture of what Boston College has on the offensive line. So next year, I'm looking at the depth chart. I watched the second teams play, and they were fine. If you like Grayson James, the second team got him moving pretty well during practices during the summer and fall. At tackle, Ryan Mickow is going to be a redshirt sophomore next year. That's around the time when you usually can get guys in. He's 6'7", 305 pounds. He's big. He's perfect for a tackle. If if O'Brien thinks he's ready, he could be a guy that could start. You also have at guard Eric Dougherty, who is a converted defensive lineman. He's 6'3", 300 pounds. He's also going to be a redshirt sophomore. He could be ready to go. You also have friend of the pod, Jack Funk, who's also a guard. He's going to be a redshirt junior next year. Again, if he's ready, you could play him. And finally, you have at center, at right guard, you have Otto Hess, who's 6'7", 323. That's pretty big for a guard, but they're all guys that, depending on where the staff feels, could play. And I saw most of them all with the second team. So you think with developing, they could get to that next level and play. That being said, you probably want to get some more guys up. You're going to have, Jaden LaFontaine, Judah Pruitt, Pape Sai. Those guys are all developing too. But you may want some more established offensive linemen. And it all depends on where O'Brien and Matt Applebaum see the guys that they already have. But I have to imagine they're going to be targeting something. I would think, it all depends on what they do with Logan Taylor. If he goes to tackle, they might go for guards, and guards are cheaper, so that's good. Money is always an issue with BC. But I think that's going to be a position of utter need for BC because offensive line is so critical for for anyone. The trenches are so big in terms of what you can do both offensively and defensively. We've watched when they struggle. We don't need to see that again. So getting guys in here that can start, that can play immediately, that have experience, that's going to be critical. Kyle Hergel a couple of years ago in 2023, he's a critical piece. Zion Johnson a couple, before that. Obviously, he's a first-round draft pick. So being able to go out there and find these offensive linemen to fill in gaps is going to be big. And then, maybe you have those other guys I just mentioned, all those underclassmen there on your two deep in case one of them goes down. We watched Jude Bowery get hurt a whole bunch this year. We don't know what his, hopefully after this year that he gets some rest and relaxation and feels better because that was tough. Now you look at the rest of the offense. If I was to tell you what positions do I feel comfortable about, I think running back's fine. I honestly don't think they need any running backs. They're going to lose Kai Robichaux, Trayshawn Ward. They're going to be fine there. Wide receiver, I think there might be a need there. I'm not sure how they feel about the freshmen that they got coming in and some of the guys that they're developing. But, depending on where guys land, I still wonder if Jerron Bradley comes back. He didn't play at all, it seems like, for the second half of the season. I know he was sick at one point, but I'm not sure, he was stressed. I saw him out there. Jaden McGowan, same thing. I don't know where they're all going to land. We'll have to wait to see where that is. But if you lose a couple guys there, that might be a position you might want to look at. Tight end, definitely think that's a position you might want to look at as well because you're going to lose Kamari Morales. Not sure where Matt Regan is at in terms of his development, but that's been a position BC's gone after in the transfer portal almost seemingly every year. And I could see this being another year. And they're bringing in 3 guys as true freshmen. I don't think of tight ends as a position, especially I think I talked to all of them and they're all coming over the summer. Um, I don't see that as a position you usually have a ton of success with non-blue chips as true freshmen. So I think that might be a position you're going to look at as well. So quarterback, offensive line, I think those are the 2 big positions you're going to be wanting to get after in the transfer portal with wide receiver and tight end coming right after it. Those are some needs of Boston College. And I think this is all based off of where things are at now. We don't know if there's going to be a surprise, a guy that leaves that you're just not expecting. That could open up a new need. And that obviously would be a conversation we're going to have here on Locked On Boston College because we do this 5 days a week. We'll do that again and talk more about it in future episodes if that's what happens. Now, in our final positional preview, this position on the defense is the biggest one Boston College has to hit on in this transfer portal. I'll explain why in just a moment. Now, FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When I'm watching a game, you can tell like the momentum's going for one team and you're feeling it. You go on to FanDuel, you can find those live odds, see how they adjust, see if you feel confident with it, and you can make your bet. And they have multi parlays. You can do, betting odds on how many yards Jared Goff is going to throw and how many yards Jahmyr Gibbs is going to run for, all with like the over-unders. It's crazy. You can do a lot with what you have on FanDuel. Now, what you need to do is get into a hunch in the middle of the game. Check out the live stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a moment with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. I hope you guys have checked out my work over there. Right now, if you want it, it's 50% off. If you missed the 75% off deal, still got some great savings over there. Come on over. We have basketball coverage, football coverage, recruiting, transfer portal. Got it all. I hope you guys come on over and become a VIP. It's a great community, and I would love to see you over there. Now, also, check out Locked On ACC with the great Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. They're talking ACC football. Probably not very high on BC. They never are. Go check them out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, I have mentioned the quarterback, the offensive line. I went through all the positions on the offense, but there is one position that Boston College has to hit a home run in the transfer portal, and that is the edge defenders. I feel on the defense, honestly, you may want to get a guy here or there, but I think their defense is pretty good shape for next year. Your secondary is set. You got enough guys there to go too deep and at every position with guys that can handle it. Your linebackers, I know some of you folks out there really like to get more linebackers. I think with Davion Crouch, Owen McGowan, potentially Cam Arnold back again. I'm not sure where his situation's at, but you also have Kamori Dixon coming up. You have some depth there. Jalen Blackwell, Bryce Steele. I think you're okay there. You may, if you get a guy, you get a guy, but sometimes getting a good linebacker in the portal is not an easy thing to find. Defensive tackle, same thing. I think your defensive tackles, you've got a bunch of guys. Owen McGowan, George Brooks, Ty Clemens, who had the big guy touchdown. You got a bunch there. The edge rushers, though, that's going to keep you up at night right now. Neto Ekpalo is graduating, and, say what you will, he had his ups and downs, but he was a solid contributor, and he caused that big guy touchdown on Saturday's game. He's gone. And then the GOAT, Donovan Ezeiruaku, he's gone too. And that's where things are going to get a little dicey. 16 and a half sacks. I mean, you know where I stand on this. I saw David Hale of ESPN talking about the defensive player of the year, and he had the linebacker from Pitt. I think it should be Donovan Ezeiruaku, but I'm a homer. What am I going to say? I know the guy from Pitt. What do you have, like 4 touchdowns? I mean, it's good, but I'm a big Donovan Ezeiruaku fan. I think he's he's moved up to a second round draft pick. BC's going to really miss him. And what scares me and what keeps me up at night is I'm not sure what the depth is at that position. I don't know, you look at when I do the on Eagle Insider and I do the Pro Football Focus grades and snap counts, the depth that they play at that position has basically been 3 guys the entire year. It's been Ezeiruaku, Ekpala, and Quintavious Hutchins. Now, luckily, you get Quintavious Hutchins back next year. But the other 2 guys are gone, which begs the question, who is going to play? I look at the depth, and I don't know where you're going to get other snaps there. It's a big question mark. You got guys like Gilbert Tonguarangu. He's more of an interior guy at this point. Edward Kalengi, I didn't see anything of him this year. He didn't seem to play. Josiah Griffin, the staff made a big deal out of him during the summer. Again, didn't see him play. Clive Owen. Clive Wilson, I don't know if he's healthy. He hasn't been healthy in like 2 years. You need to find some depth here. And the scary part about this is edge defenders are like right under quarterbacks in terms of spending money. But I say this too. I believe if I was a betting man that you just lost off of your roster the 2 most expensive NAL guys. Thomas Castellanos, who I guarantee was one of the top. He's got to be the top. I mean, you saw him, with chains and cars and out to dinner all the time on his social media. He was getting paid big, and I'm sure of that. Donovan Ezeiruaku, I've heard it was up there too. So you're going to have money. I don't know how much it's going to cost to retain Grayson James, but regardless, you're going to have that extra chunk of cash to go out there and get a good edge rusher. So I hope Boston College is aggressive there and they find a guy that can fill in, maybe 2, maybe 3 to get some edge help there because they don't have their depth there is unproven and thin. They need to get some help there. You're not going to replace Donovan Ezeiruaku. Let's put that out there right now. You're not going to find a guy that's a borderline All-American that's going to transfer to Boston College. It's just not going to happen. But what you could do is find 2 defensive ends that are able to pass rush and able to do some things and then coach them up a little bit and maybe get them to get to that next level. And I'm okay. I'm okay if those edge rushers are from a group of 5 school. FCS, I'm a little bit more wary because sometimes those are really hit or miss. But hey, Jared Verse came from Albany or something like that. You can find him if you can get a good one, and you trust your scouting. I'm not here to doubt what Bill O'Brien's been able to do. He's been able to identify some guys and really coach them up. But you're gonna have to do that. That's gonna be priority number 1 for Boston College. That edge position has to be addressed in the transfer portal. Next year, you cannot wait to find out if your guys are there. But actually, you know what? I lied. The edge rusher, probably is either 1A or 1B. But the biggest position that you have to get in the transfer portal is not the edge rusher. It's a freaking punter. You cannot go into next year with a punter kicking 30 yards or 25 yards, or it's going off his foot, or he's not able to kick it. Just get one guy in here, one guy on this roster that can just boom a punt, 42 yards. That's all I'm asking. And to do it like relatively consistently. Remember Grant Carlson a couple years ago? Not the biggest leg, but man, I would have killed to have him on this roster this year. Now, the kid from Ireland, Andy Quinn, maybe he's going to be it, but you can't go into next year with a kid from Ireland and then everything else that you had from this last year. You can't. You can't do this again. You can't put it on Liam Connor, your kicker, to be your punter, and then all the other guys who just couldn't do anything. So, yeah, maybe the punter is the biggest priority. And hey, kicker too sometimes. But you know what? It's honestly, it wasn't the kicker's fault in a lot of that. You need someone who can hold a kick because a lot of those were holding issues, which is crazy. Anyways, we'll be back again tomorrow on Locked On Boston College to talk more about the portal, talk about what other things we're seeing, if there's any breaking news. We'll get into all of that. And then on Thursday's show, it's National Signing Day. You're going to want to hear my thoughts about this class, where I think it stands. And I know a lot of you folks are upset at the rankings, why I think it's going to take a big bump in 2026. I'll explain why on Thursday's show. And we'll have Mitchell Wolf on at some point this week. I know he's a little under the weather. Hopefully we'll see him soon. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for hitting that like and subscribe button. We've had a ton of new subscribers to our YouTube channel, and I want to thank each and every one of you that has done that. If you haven't done so yet, hit that before you leave. And we'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.